I would say. But there's a joke about the three forms of Judaism. The Orthodox say Adonai because they have like a Yiddish accent. The conservatives say Adonai, and the Reform say I don't know. Because they really don't believe the Bible is the infallible word of God. They're like, it's fables, even they really believe the creation story is fables. This is the Reform. So we actually move as a Reform synagogue once in a while when we're in Pennsylvania, because they're the ones that let us in knowing that we're Messianic. Because like anything kind of goes. So for us, we'll visit a Reform synagogue to celebrate Purim or something like that with the kids. They can actually do Bible. There is a Jewish community they can go to. At least they're open to knowing we're believers. But the Orthodox, the reason why they're Orthodox in Israel is because there's identifiable Jews. And I don't ever bash the Orthodox. I'll talk about something that I don't like about it. Some believers in Israel, because they treat us really just don't like it. And like my uncle who's secular, he doesn't like them because they don't do any work except read that book, so to speak. But for me, what's that?
The Hasidim, are they part of the Orthodox?
Who?
The Hasidic.
The Hasidim, yeah, they're like, once you get to Orthodoxy, then there's levels of Orthodoxy. My grandmother thought she was Orthodox. I think she was more, she wasn't conservative reform, she was Orthodox, but she was more on the, she was not Hasidim. Every Shabbat she grabbed my kippah. What's a kippah? You're Jewish, your mother's Jewish. She always had this like thick Eastern European accent. She spoke German, Yiddish, Hebrew, of course, fluent in Hebrew and English, and Czechoslovakian as well. So my grandmother that I grew up with, the grandmother I told you about, my real grandmother, we never found her. When we found her, she had already died at 30 years old when my mom lived young. So she was, we never found her. We know who she is, we visited her grave in England and everything, my real grandmother, where she ended up moving to England later. And we met my mom's two half-sisters, Ruthie and Rita, who I am very close to. When they come here, I feel like they're probably closer than aunts, actually. We're very close. Anyway, so my Orthodox grandmother that I grew up, who died at 97 years old, I spent most of my life. We had just moved to Israel back in 2009, right after she died, actually. So she was really honored to know her grandson was going to Israel. She couldn't have any children, so when she adopted my mom, we were all she had. So for me, when I did that concert in Tower of David, I was scared about putting the kippah on because Messianic Jews is like, we're something else. How dare you pretend like you're Jewish? This is what the Orthodox would think, But I kept thinking about my grandmother. I kept thinking about, the phrase that we say here often in Israel is, "We're still Jewish." All these traditions, all these stories are ours as well, and we can, under the light of God's presence and God's conviction, we can throw off some of the things that aren't supposed to be there. For instance, there were some prayers that were added along the way because Christians were persecuting us so much that they added some prayers that was basically self-cursing, basically. I believe in one, we don't believe in such and such, and it was kind of basically to weed out any Messianic Jews that came to their service. So we don't pray those prayers as Messianic Jews. There's only a few of those that were added hundreds of years ago during sort of the Inquisition era where the Christians were forcing Jews to become saved, just to make sure those people weren't Christian Jews back then.
So, can I interrupt and ask a question? Is that allowed?
What's that?
Is that allowed to interrupt? So Peter and the disciples would have been Messianic Jews.
They were 100% Jewish. There was nothing Christian in them yet. So
okay.
The Bible says they went to the synagogues every week, even the whole early church.
Okay.
First 300 years, the people that were getting saved outside of Israel were sending their tithes to Jerusalem still.
Yes.
So it's very connected. They still celebrated Pesach, Passover, until Constantine in the 3rd century made it illegal, and he made it illegal to celebrate Passover and kind of removed anything. Actually made it illegal to celebrate Shabbat for the early church that we're celebrating on the 7th day.
So what characterizes a Messianic Jew then?
They accepted the Messiah. That was it.
Yeah, a Messianic
that's
Jew,
why-
I'd like to say that we kind of skip the 1600 years of church history and just try to go back to first century worship, where we don't have a sunrise service, we don't have a Sunday service. I don't necessarily think we're all opposed to it, because if you have church on Sunday, you're not declaring it Shabbat. It's okay to meet on a Sunday. I think it's okay. I hear people argue, no, it's supposed to be Sunday, it's supposed to be Saturday. You can worship on a Tuesday.
Right, yeah.
Shabbat is a different discussion. If you say Sunday is the seventh day of the week, or is Shabbat, I actually won't argue with you too much, but I'd say we just try to keep more of our Jewish heritage and not necessarily attach ourselves to some of the beautiful Christian heritage throughout the years. We just try to skip all that.
Yeah.
Good
And
and
I'd like
bad.
to know your mother what it is. She completed,
I never
what'd you say?
Completed Jew.
She's completed.
Yeah. So here's a prayer we sing. Shalom Aleichem. This is just one of our prayers. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Peace be to you, ministering angels, angels of the Most High, coming from the King who reigns over kings, the Holy One. Blessed be He. In the book of Acts, we're probably going to read this as part of our Shah. It talks about the angel that was there in the bush, and I thought it was God Himself, but Acts says the angel, and we're going to just dig into that. And we're talking about the angels. We're not worshiping the angels. We're saying peace be to you, and we're not saying, we're worshiping you. Peace, we're bringing peace to the angels. It's not just us that are serving God. And it's kind of crazy to think it's out of this world, actually, that we're a part of. We're the shlachim, we're the sent ones, but that's almost the same word as angels, really. We are almost kind of like angels. We aren't angels, but we are sent ones from God as well. And we're part of that story. And last night there's Proverbs 31. We pray over our wives, which is what I do. I actually don't like to do it in front of people because I feel like it feels fake, to be honest with you. And there's also the prayer, Proverbs 31, Eshet Chayim, the woman of valor. And it's Proverbs 31, verse 10 to 31. And then we go through the Kiddush, which we did. We prayed over the prayer of the blessings. We prayed over the meal. And then we pray over our sons and daughters, which I do, or my kids. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'ke Manasseh. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And for our daughters, Yismech Elohim ke'Esav Rivka Rachel veLeah. And then we pray the Birkat HaKohanim over our children, the Aaronic blessing. And then we do this thing called Natilat Yadayim, the washing of the hands. And I don't know why. I think we usually do right hand. We pour this full basin of water. We pray, Natilat Yadayim. So you pour twice over your right hand, twice over the left hand, and then pour the rest over your right hand as you kind of walk in. The word says, we're going to go to the Kotel of William Waldemar, and you'll do that same prayer. The Bible says, who may ascend to the hill of the Lord? He who has clean hands and a pure heart. So there's the physical and the spiritual are always together in God. And this is why God, He's the one who created us. So He knows the physical, the smell, the sounds, the music, the taste and see that the Lord is good. God who created us had us do all these things so that we can be physically and spiritually attached to Him. So this is just kind of those prayers we pray over our family. And in the morning, we did this in the morning. Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazart bi nishpati v'chemla rabba emunatecha. I think I have it here in English. I give thanks before you, living and eternal King, for you have returned my soul to me, and compassion, your faithfulness is great. They think about your soul, like you have no will, you can't tell yourself what to do while you're sleeping. You wake up and your consciousness is returned to you, and thanking God for that next day, your consciousness. I hope this isn't too much. I just want to walk you through this prayer book. This is a prayer book by my good friend Yitzhak Shapira. He's an Orthodox rabbi that's a believer. He's crazy. I love him. He's like John the Baptist. You have to be crazy. He will stand. He was just a couple days ago at the hotel. He just left Israel. He's from Jerusalem, and he was just talking about Yeshua really loud at the hotel, dressed in black and white. And they're coming up and arguing with him, and he's like, he can argue in and out with them all day long. It's amazing. And he made this amazing siddur. It's called Siddur Ahavat Olam, and it just kind of goes through the prayers. And I actually have the Hebrew here, and then the English transliteration. And then there's not many like this. So this is what it just came out. Otherwise, I can't tell you how to get these. You could probably go to his website or something. And it actually is the English. You can go through these prayers. It's so helpful, even for me, because I have the Hebrew siddur, and it's so big, and you can be reading it all day long. I just want to read the stuff I know when I'm reading. I want to pray with my kids. Otherwise, it'll just make you want to quit. You know. So this really just plays.
What is his name? If we want to get that.
Yitzhak Shapira.
Can you spell that? Yeah, right.
You know what?
Sure.
Yeah.
Take a picture of it, Adam.
You write
Just
it
take a
down.
picture of the book.
I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it on Facebook.
You Google it.
Here, I'll take a picture of it.
Can I take a picture of it?
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you spell Ishak Shapira?
Shapiro's easy, it's the first part.
ITZHAK.
ISHAK.
Did you do a video
No.
with him at all?
Yeah, that's
One
what it is.
day with
Yeah.
Shaki when he was carrying.
I did some videos with him.
He was really full of.
Yes.
It was him, isn't it?
Yes.
I could just see, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's my son's
oh,
rabbi.
I
My
love
son's
him.
brother.
Yeah, like him.
He knows
Hardcover, and it's
My
$59.99.
wife Jeannie's here.
Yeah.
Can I see that?
Amazon,
I got
$59.99.
The kid's alive?
Good
Two,
morning, darling.
two,
Okay.
I don't want to see over
Yeah,
closer.
221.
Jeannie, is this the most
I was
percentage
gonna
wise
say,
turn up
the
for
Queen.
a Bible study?
Peggy,
Oh, I never.
Peggy.
Sorry.
Yes.
No, it's doing weird stuff, it wants to be
His
blurry.
name's not there.
Peggy.
but,
Oh, I keep calling you.
Yeah, hold on.
Sorry.
Kim.
Kim, Amazon, $59.99.
All right.
That's it?
Yes.
So many talks about he made us a little.
Yes. Yes.
Amazon. As soon as you said
Honestly,
that,
and also elevation wise. Right?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
So-
Put it on
Put the
Facebook.
book in. No. Oh, I don't know.
I
Can I do
was
that?
just getting ready to think about that. I haven't
Screenshot
seen
the
it
cover
yet.
and then put it
Oh,
in your phone.
yeah.
You want me to text it? I mean,
Okay, so I'm going to keep going here, and I'm going to skip some of the longer prayers, and we're going to get into the blessing of the Torah. So, Father, I just thank you for today. I thank you for this Shabbat. I thank you for my brothers and sisters. Thank you for allowing us to sit here in your holy hill, looking over Zion. I just thank you for everyone that's here. Father, I thank you for your word. I thank you that that this word is for such a time as this, whatever word this is. Oh, I did read it last night. However, it speaks to anybody here tonight. May it speak to us individually and even as a group. Father, I pray for Benny right now. I pray that you just give him a blessed time with his wife and
yes.
the young boy. We pray for Anatoly. Bless his time in the south near the border. May no sirens go off where he's at, because he's down there. Bless him and his family, Lord. Just may you rejuvenate him, give him a blessed Shabbat. And Father, I pray that you draw him to you. Lord, if he doesn't know you, I don't think he knows you, but I pray that you draw him to you, that he'll know you in a personal way, Yeshua. And he'll come to know the Father and the peace that comes with all of that.
Yes.
And we just thank you for this word. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל תפארה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, נותן ליפך כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברו תורה. והערב נא אדוני אלוהינו את דברי תורתך בפינו ובפי עמך בית ישראל, ונהיה אנחנו בצאצאנו לצאצא עמך, בית ישראל. כולנו יודעי שמך ולומדי תורתך. לשמה ברוך אתה אדוני המלך תורה לעמו ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהים מלך העולם אשר ברך בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. Amen. Thank you, Lord, for reading your word. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us in his commandments and commanded us to occupy ourselves in the words of Torah. Please, Adonai, our God, make the words of your Torah pleasant in our mouths and in the mouths of your people, the house of Israel. May we and our descendants, the descendants of your people, the house of Israel, all of us, know your name and study your Torah for its sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to his people Israel. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who chose us from among all the peoples and gave us his Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, giver of the Torah. And I'm just going to read one more prayer. This is a prayer we read as we enter into the synagogue. So we entered into the synagogue. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel. Okay, thank you, Lord. We're going to open today.
Can I say
Torah.
something?
Yes.
My typical American lack of understanding and taking things for granted kicked in while you were praying. When you mentioned Anatoly being in the South,
Yeah.
and you prayed the sirens not go off, my American mind thought he's going to set off some alarm about being down there. And when it just took a few seconds for me to remember he's in a part of Israel where they have rocket attacks all the time.
Yeah, he's in the Gaza border.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that just didn't even click until
It's
I
crazy.
chuckled. Actually, I thought it was
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
and then I realized that's not what he meant.
No, that's not what I meant.
One quick
Literal
thing,
silence.
if you guys wanna, when I went to the Christians United for Israel conference last year, there's an app that you can download on your phone, and they encouraged us to do it. It was the IDF that was speaking to us, the Israeli Defense Force, and it's called Red Alert, and you can download it on your phone, and anytime that Israel
Oh, yes.
has an attack, it goes off. And they encourage us to do that as a constant reminder to continue to pray.
Pray, yeah.
And you will be shocked
What
how
happened?
much that thing goes off.
What is the?
Yeah.
Red alert.
It's called Red Alert, and right now it's the south, but it's also the north. We haven't heard any sirens in the north, Red Alert, but how many heard booms in the north when we were praying over the?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the real booms.
Yeah.
The week before I heard them from my village. I was at my friend Gilad's house in the back. I heard boom boom, maybe a few more than boom boom, and then all of a sudden these big aircraft carriers are flying below me over the Sea of Galilee. There wasn't a war in the Sea of Galilee, but they were flying up to the north to make sure they're ready in case anybody tried anything over in Israel. So when we filmed our He's Coming Again video, I don't think you were there. I had Emma with me, and I had a tour group. It was a volunteer/tour group. In 2014, there were literally rockets going towards Jerusalem, and it was a church from Florida. And it's the weirdest thing. Everybody was safe. They felt safe. They were safe. One flew over Jerusalem, which was the first time. Gosh, I don't know if it was ever, but it was the first time in years and years and years and years. It just doesn't happen. Everyone was shot down by the Iron Dome, and there was one in the north as well. And I actually remember Emma. I picked her up. I ran down 3 flights of stairs, and she never even woke up. I picked her up. She was little, and nothing ever hit anybody. Nobody died from a rocket attack. No civilian. The whole tour group said, "We're not leaving. We feel fine." It was the weirdest thing. There were sirens going off. And
They had to go to the bomb shelter.
they had to all go to the bomb shelter in Haifa. I guess the point is, we're never too worried about it. The Israel Ministry of Tourism will not let tourists come if it's a threat to the people, local people. But that group did leave 2 days early because their church board said, "No, we're not going to let you stay." And the war ended that day that they left. The ceasefire. And they were in Jerusalem. Our hotel had a great bomb shelter. Nobody's ever killed in a bomb shelter. As a matter of fact, the bomb shelters are rated. It's safe. So you have about, depends on how close you are. It's 16 seconds. Where I totally live, it's 10 seconds. It's pretty close. But every single house, my house is my daughter Emma's bedroom is a bomb shelter. So she's already ready. She's the one who usually sleeps in, so perfect. She's just gonna stay in bed.
Yeah. Our friend showed us theirs, and they said you couldn't have a window from outside that looks into the window of the bomb shelter.
No, yeah, well hers does, but it's a big metal. You
Yeah,
close
hers
it's a
is
big
big.
steel window.
Theirs was a lot smaller, but they had their computers set up in there for the children's schooling.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna read Kitavo. And right here in my Bible, I have a Hebrew English Bible. And my Hebrew is okay. I'll be honest, my Hebrew isn't. I wasn't born in here like Benny. I'm jealous of him. I don't know if I'm jealous. I am, but I'm not. I'm glad that I came here with the perspective that I have. Benny has, because he lived in the States for a while in the middle of his life, I think for several years. But I had to learn it as an adult, and it's not fun. I've been to university level several times, and I just keep going. Now I watch a lot of movies, and when I watch American movies, I watch with Hebrew subtitles to help push me. I'm 41, which, well, I guess 10 years ago we came here, so 30, which is a good age, so you can learn it. We've got a Hebrew learner over here who's learning pretty well. He's been speaking to me in Hebrew along the way. So it's possible, it's very possible to learn the language of the Bible. You know, the language was dead for 2,000 years. Never happened in the history of the world where a dead language for 2,000 years has been resurrected for a people group. Never happened in the history of the world. Especially for a people group to be scattered for 2,000 years and come back again. Never in history. All those dead languages, you think about Latin, it's only spoken in the Greek Orthodox churches and all those Orthodox things. Nobody speaks. Nobody speaks Latin. It's not an everyday language.
I learned it.
Yeah, they teach
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So, but as an everyday language, it's just so Hebrew. So my kids can pick up this Bible and just read the Bible. You know, we argue in America about what translation, King James only,
Yeah.
1611.
Right, yeah, right.
I'm so sorry, but we have this language called Hebrew.
You've got the best.
Not a translation, it's the language, you know?
So you
Well,
have
they're-
Hebrew and King James?
No, actually, I believe English
That's
is
an
New King
oxymoron.
James, as a matter of fact. They just chose
There's a better, there's a translation that includes Yeshua, and it's called the Tree of Life version.
Tree of Life is great.
And that's what we use, the Tree of Life.
The two I recommend
What
is-
is Jesus, they put Yeshua, and that's
Amen.
glory to
It's great. The two I recommend was Tree of Life or the Complete Jewish Bible. Those are the two I recommend.
You read the World Messianic Bible?
No,
It's pretty awesome.
I bet it's good too. Okay, I don't know. That's the thing about English. It's crazy, right? If you go to Germany, I think there's just a German translation. You know what I mean? It's like in America, we've got, oh my gosh. We've got, yeah, probably hundreds of
I've got
English
a
translations.
long time ago, the Jerusalem Bible, how does that stand exactly?
Say that
The
again?
Jerusalem Bible.
I know of it, but I'll be
Long
honest,
time ago.
I am no
just
scholar, I
wanted
don't know,
No.
It might be good, it might be good, but
Yeah.
Isn't it
I think we can all
Catholic?
agree that
Yeah.
That's a Catholic
if it's not the translation, it's the
It
original,
does
and
leave
that's
some
better.
stuff out.
That's the best, right?
It does.
It's
So,
got extra
um,
books than the
We're gonna read
Yes.
Kitavo.
Maccabees and-
There is several
Tobias,
chapters.
Tobias, wasn't it?
On Shabbat, we don't read through the whole thing. We discuss what we had already read. So we're gonna read through some of it, and then so if you go through your calendars or you want to go online, there's websites to just type in the Parsha, Parsha. You can read the Parsha of the week. And what you would do is read this on your calendar, and you can see, okay, the 21st is coming. On Sunday or Monday, you just start reading it. And then on the 21st, you sit down with your kids or your friends, and you open it up and say, man, I've been really just this one verse has been getting me, and then you talk about the overview of the passage, and then just dig in deeper, like you're doing rabbinical studies, and because this is what we're all supposed to do. We're all priests, and we're all supposed to study the word, rightly divide it.
Amen.
So I'm gonna start at Ki Tavo. I'm gonna skip. It's chapter 60. Deuteronomy 26. I'm so sorry. To 29. 27 is just so dark. It's just like, and you can read it if you want. I just don't want to read it.
26.
26 verse 1 till 29 verse 9. Deuteronomy.
I was thinking you were New Testament because you were so far back.
Yeah, mine's the opposite. It's right to left.
Me,
So,
Oh, one.
You know, I thought you were back in Acts or something.
yeah, no, not that.
I was like, okay, I'm
This is
confused.
Deuteronomy. Over here.
Chapter 29.
So you guys know Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers,
Yep.
Deuteronomy.
Uh-huh.
That's the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. So Deuteronomy, we're at the end of Deuteronomy. So remember, we're almost into Joshua. So we're almost into, the only the few, handful of chapters in the beginning is creation, the story of our patriarch Jacob, and then it's God rescuing us, and then it's all in the wilderness. It's a lot of wilderness, and making it out of the wilderness. So if you think we're towards the end of Deuteronomy, there's only a handful of chapters after that. We're towards the end of the book, so just picture yourself. This is towards the end. We're almost out of the promised land. We've survived 40 years. We're surviving 40 years. And this is the title of this parsha. If you want to read through the Torah, you're going to read through the parsha. You read this section every week, and you're going to make it through. You're going to make it through the Torah together with the people of Israel, with us as well as a group. So, verse 26. Then it shall be, when you enter the land which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance, and you possess it and live in it, that you shall take some of the first of all the produce of the ground, Deuteronomy 26, of the ground, which you bring, chapter 26, Deuteronomy chapter 26. Bring it from your land, the Lord your God gives you, and you shall put it in a basket and go to the place where the Lord your God chooses to establishes his name. I think I missed. You shall take some of the first of all the produce. Okay, so first fruits. And remember, we're about to enter into the Jewish feasts, God's feasts here, just next week. So all those feasts were established when we were in the desert. God planned it all out. When you go back, this is how you're going to remember not to be like the pagans who worship many gods. This is what's going to set you apart. This is what's going to remind you, and you're going to keep it as an everlasting ordinance. So you're going to take your fruits, put it in a basket, and go to the place where the Lord your God chooses to establish his name. You shall go to the priest who was in the office at that time and say to him, I declare this day to Adonai my God that I have entered the land which Adonai swore to our forefathers to give to us. So anyone want to read verse 4? Just read maybe to verse 6, and we can kind of go around. Verse 4 to verse 6.
The priest will then take the basket from your hand and set it before the altar of the Lord your God. You must then say in the presence of the Lord your God, my ancestor Jacob was a wandering Aramean who went to live as a foreigner in Egypt. His family arrived few in number, but in Egypt they became a large and mighty nation. When the Egyptians oppressed and humiliated us by making us their slaves, we cried out to the Lord, the God of our ancestors.
No, finish that. That's fine.
The Lord of our ancestors. He heard our cries and saw our hardships, toil, and oppression.
Someone want to read 8, 9, and 10?
I'll do it.
Okay.
And the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and with an outreached arm and with great terror, suffered by the Egyptians, and with signs and with wonders. And he has brought us to this place and has given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, look, I have brought the first of the produce of the ground, which you, O Lord, have given me. And you shall place it before the Lord your God, and shall worship before the Lord your God.
Someone want to read 11, 12, 13?
I do it.
Yes.
When you have finished when you have finished setting aside 1/10 of all your produce in the 3rd year, the year of the tithe, you shall give it to the Levite, the alien, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat in your towns and be satisfied. Then say to the Lord your God, I have removed from my house the sacred portion, and have given it to the Levite, the alien, the fatherless, and the widow, according to all that you commanded. I have not turned aside from your commandments, nor have I forgotten any of them. Keep going.
What verse you are? Just
13.
Finish
So
that.
13. Yeah.
I'm on 14.
Okay, then we need somebody for 14, 15, 16.
I'll read it.
Sorry, I was just checking my next verse and I lost my place. Okay. 14, 15, 16. You got a brother here?
I have not eaten any of it while in mourning. I have not handled it while ceremonially unclean, and I have not offered any of it to the dead. I have obeyed the Lord my God, and have done everything you commanded me. Now look down from your holy dwelling place in heaven and bless your people, Israel, and the land you swore to our ancestors to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Amen. We swore it to our fathers.
Yes, yes.
Okay, somebody want to read 16, 17, 18?
I'll read it.
Okay.
The Lord your God commands you this day to follow these decrees and laws. Carefully observe them with all your heart, with all your soul. You have declared this day that the Lord is your God, and that you will walk in obedience to him, that you will keep his decrees, commands, and laws, that you will listen to him. Amen. And the Lord has declared this day that you are his people, his treasured possession, as he promised, and that you are to keep all his commands.
Yes.
Amen.
I'm going to read this, verse 19. And he will set you high above all nations which he has made, for praise, fame, and honor, and that you shall be a consecrated people to the Lord your God, as he has spoken.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen. Let me just scan here on the computer here. Okay, so, and it goes to verse chapter 27 about coming in, and he says, verse 1, Then Moses said to the elders of Israel, charge the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you today. So it shall be on the day when you cross the Jordan to the land which Adonai your God gives you, that you shall set up for yourselves large stones and coat them with lime and write on them all the words of this law when you cross over. I actually never noticed that before. He's going to write all this down in stone. So that you may enter the land which the Lord your God gives you, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Yes.
You know the musicalis was a bee house, used to be a beekeeper's home.
Oh, was it really?
Yes.
Wow.
And actually, it was a beekeeper's home that was bought by another beekeeper
Oh,
who
wow.
I am in a long-term lease with. I'm trying to buy out of him someday, God willing. But
Oh, wow.
So get some cows to milk and honey.
yeah, or goats, because some say the
Goat
land
milk.
flowing with milk and honey actually
Goats.
was goat's milk and
Oh,
possibly
yummy.
date honey.
Date.
So it might not be either of what we would
Date
think.
Dead, dead honey?
Goat milk
What?
and
Yeah,
date honey.
dates.
Date.
Like the
With
palm
the
tree
T.
that's a date palm,
Oh, okay.
jujubes.
So it's not bee,
Dry.
bee honey? It's not the
It
bees.
might be, but I've heard a couple of people in the past, some guys say that they think it was goat milk and date honey.
That makes more
Supposedly
sense.
bees
though.
aren't native to here, is that the case?
I don't know that.
But
I'm sure they have to be.
But they have
Oh,
to be, because,
sorry.
yeah, the
There's no
lion
pollination
ate.
without bees, yeah.
but
No,
Samson
there's-
also got the
there's-
Samson also got the honeycomb out of the lion's carcass.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly, I know.
Yeah.
So funny.
It
So
was a date.
amazing, that man.
It was date honey, and he forgot his comb inside there.
Yeah.
He didn't have hair, you know.
Yeah.
Scooped it with his comb.
That was before he was dating Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it shall be when you cross the Jordan, it says that all these stones are commanded. Okay, wherever you shall build there an altar to Adonai your God, an altar of stones. You shall not wield an iron tool in them. Why? Because then it will be an idol. It has to just be stones from the field. You shall not carve them. You shall build the altar of the Lord your God with uncut stones, and you shall offer on it burnt offerings to Adonai your God, and you shall sacrifice peace offerings and eat there and rejoice. So you think about offerings you give up to the Lord. God is so good. You sacrifice an offering and then you get to eat it. And then you eat it there, it says, and rejoice before Adonai your God. You shall write on the stones all the words of this law very distinctly. Then Moses and the Levitical priests spoke to all Israel, saying, Be silent and listen, O Israel. This day you have become a people for Adonai your God. You shall therefore obey Adonai your God and do his commandments and his statutes which I command you this day. So there's the next section is just lots of curses. You can read it later. And I don't wanna omit it, but we don't usually read all of the portion. But Moses also charged the people on that day, saying, when you cross the Jordan, these shall stand on Mount Gerizim to bless the people. Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Yosef, and Benjamin. For the curse, these shall stand on Mount Ebal, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. The Levites shall then answer and say to all the men of Israel with a loud voice, cursed is the man who makes an idol, or a molten image, an abomination of the Lord. On the skip, 16, cursed is he who dishonors his father. 17, cursed is he who moves his neighbor's boundary mark. Cursed is he who misleads a blind person. Cursed is he who distorts justice. 20, cursed is he who lies with his father's wife, because he uncovered his father's skirt. Cursed is he who lies with any animal. I mean, it gets really heavy. Cursed is he who lies with his sister. I mean, think about this world they lived in, this Egyptian world. Who would even think of these things? These Egyptians were pretty crazy, evil dirtbags. I mean, they were just evil. They learned a lot of treacherous things that you wouldn't even think of. And then this here, behold, this crazy curses as you go through chapter 27. And it says 28, verse 28, and now it shall be if you diligently obey Adonai your God, be careful to do all his commandments which I command you today. Adonai your God will set you high above all nations of the earth, and these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey Adonai your God. Blessed shall you be in the city. Right? Well, how about somebody read this verse 3, 4, and 5?
You will be blessed in the city, and you will be blessed in the field. The offspring of your body, and the produce of your ground, and the offspring of your animals, the offspring of your herd, and the young of your flock will be blessed. Your basket and your kneading bowl will be blessed.
Hallelujah. Okay, 6, 7. How about just 6, 7, 8? Somebody.
You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. The Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but flee from you in 7. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land he has given you.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Okay, when I see a hand over here wants to read the next 3 verses.
Through what?
9, we just finished 8, right?
Yes.
9, 10, 9. Just 9 and 10, actually.
The Lord will establish you as a holy people to himself, just as he swore to you, if you will keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk in his ways. All the people of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of you.
And then if you skip a few more verses, it goes back to cursing.
Is this today's newspaper?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we want to walk in blessing, amen?
Amen.
I'm going to skip over to the last part here, to 29, right? And we're just going to read the 9 verses in 29 together. Somebody want to read the first 3 verses in chapter 29, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Quick.
29, 1 through what?
1, 2, 3.
Okay. These are the words that the covenant